Welcome in live to another episode of Rock Boys Football. We did a little mock draft, little seeing some prospects, getting to know some prospects, but we're back with some picks coming up. It's Wednesday night, so hopefully you guys got your action bets in. We're looking towards the weekend. We're just going to start off. Dill, what's your favorite pick as we normally do? Favorite pick of the week? Let us know.
I'm looking at this Friday night game, and I think Virginia Tech's an easy cover on BC. I think Boston College is beat up on some brutal teams, Colgate type level where you're just way outclassing, and they really did beat up those teams. But in ACC play, the only moderately impressive game they've put together kind of is a slight loss against Clemson. And as we sit now, I think that looks wildly unimpressive because Clemson can't beat anyone and looks really weak. Not they can beat people, but they can't blow anybody out. So it's like, I don't know, a 6-point loss to Clemson really doesn't wow me. And and they've been getting beat up pretty good by the others. NC State really waxed them. So I like this Virginia Tech. I don't love Virginia Tech, but this is more of an anti-BC. I think when they can't pound it on people, they really struggle. And I don't see them hammering it on Virginia Tech, who's not they're not like physically imposing, but I don't think they're weak like a Missouri or a Colgate or UMass, like the teams that BC is really beaten up.
Yeah, I actually really like that pick too. Again, you get some of that road juice. Covering only 3 points, that might dip down to 2.5 too. So keep an eye on that. But what it really comes down to is Boston College just hasn't really moved the football much. Looking at their last 3 games, they only scored 7 against NC State at home. They only scored 14 on a Louisville defense that really is nothing to write home about.
That's a weak defense, I'd
only
say.
6 on Syracuse, who has a decent defense. I'll give it to him. But, you got to score more than 6. I think Dennis Grossell, I think everyone got excited about him as he kind of led that team into a shootout victory against the Missouri team that turns out to be just really, really bad. I don't think people knew how bad Missouri was till it got later on to the season. So that BC win to get into, I believe, 4-0 at that point, we got burned on that game, was super impressive, but not anymore. Dennis Grossell, I don't think, has thrown for over 100 yards in the last couple of games. The run game doesn't look as good as it used to be. I actually really like that pick too. Virginia Tech's playing decent football. Has been solid against the run most of the year. And so I kind of like that matchup, and I just really think BC's starting to struggle down the stretch. You kind of made a good point. They've beaten a lot of good teams. If you look at their schedule, they beat up on Colgate, beat up on UMass, beat up on Temple, and then ended up winning that shootout against Missouri at home. And since then, it has been tough sledding. They've lost 4 straight. They've failed to score over 2 scores in 2 of those games and only scored 14 against Louisville, who's, again, I'm not a big Louisville fan. I think their offense is decent and dynamic with Malik Cunningham, but you got to be scoring more than 14 points against Louisville to impress me. And so, yeah, I actually really like that pick. The more you kind of sold me on it. Going up on the road, BC is one of the easier places to play in the ACC too.
Yeah, BC does that not imposing environment.
Especially when they're 4-4, having lost 4 straight. There's not much to get excited about.
Yep.
I'm going to stay in the ACC. The noon game, possibly maybe outside of the Auburn game, Auburn going into Texas A&M, the most exciting game of the week, and that's Wake Forest going on the road to Chapel Hill. It's going to be a shootout. You're going to have to be okay with kind of the ups and downs of this game. Wake Forest, their offense is looking just about as good as it has all year. They haven't scored less than 35 points in every single one of their games. They play really fast. They score a lot of points. Their defense gives up a lot of points, but also will steal some possessions as well. I think they're like plus 10 on the turnover margin this year, taking care of the football, turning the ball over on defense. I like them. I would just take the money line here. 2.5 doesn't really entice me that much with the over under being 80, almost 80 points. The over-under is also worth taking a look at. I really do think there's going to be 40 points on each side of the ball here. Both teams love to spread the ball out, love to run fast. 76.5. I know it seems high, and I know it seems lunacy to take the over, but I actually don't hate the over in that game either. But I'm going to stick with just Wake Forest money line. Yes, I'm a little biased, so if you're taking this, just be aware that I'm a Wake Forest guy. I like that team, but I really do like how that team's coming along. A lot of experience on that team. What do you think, Dave?
I like this pick too. Now, and it is tough. I have a similar bias. Like I'll ride Wake for sure, but and I get my issue is the problem is when you're taking these high scoring games. I mean, Wake Forest as well as they've done has basically skated by through the bulk of what they've done. Like they're going into overtime, they're going right up into the fourth quarter, razor close against kind of not great teams so far, which gives me a little concern when you're taking them against a team that can put some points up. So it probably is going to be a fairly close game, which is if you're going to put your like kind of your fate in Wake Forest hands, you're going to need like one defensive stop type thing late in the game. And I don't love that. I think it turns into a bit of a craps game, but
It is a
I'll
little
ride.
game.
I'll roll with you on Wake. I personally, I wouldn't take it if I wasn't a Wake fan, or I wouldn't love it as much. But and just because I think Wake's defense really does have some holes, and they give up a lot of points. And when you're going into the 50s, possibly as this game might end up in, or high 40s, I do think you end up in a situation where your quality of team might not shine through, if you will.
Yep, I agree. And that's kind of Wake Forest football in a nutshell. It is a little bit of a crapshoot, but you're getting good value here. Road dogs. Vegas continues to undervalue Wake Forest. It's almost like they can't get it through their head that Wake Forest is a good football team this year. Everything's clicking. I said this in the beginning of the season, and I didn't think they'd be this good, but I mean, they have, I think, 3 fifth-year seniors on the line, 1 fourth-year guy, and a third-year guy. So they're extremely experienced on the offensive line. They're extremely experienced with the pass catchers and running backs. And obviously on the defense side of the ball, they have that 7th-year senior Miles Fox, 6th-year senior Luke Masterson's been playing ACC, All-American, All-ACC level ball. So it's going to be a fun game. Like you're going to want exposure to this game because it's going to be a blast to start off your Saturday, for sure.
Yeah, no, I agree. I mean, if you like high scoring, no defense football, yeah, it is right up your alley. If that's not your thing, this game won't be fun. But
yeah, if you're a nerd fan who likes the ground and pound, or a Big Ten fan,
yeah, yeah, you don't appreciate the game, but that's I mean, whatever. And I'm gonna, I guess I'll take over for a sec, and I'm gonna give 2 money line underdogs that I kind of like this week.
Those first one of the week.
First one is Memphis going up against SMU, and Memphis is home, I will add, but well, it's a money line dog, dude. I didn't say road dog.
Money line dog.
So money line. I said money line dogs, but I think this is going to be an absolute points factory. I think you got playmakers across the board. Memphis going to come in a little more balanced with a run game that's more formidable, but still be able to put the ball in the air. Has an exceptionally good number 1 wideout. So I see this as being similar to what you kind of get in the UNC Wake Forest game, where you're going to have a zillion points. SMU doesn't play defense. Memphis doesn't play great defense. Perfect recipe for a dog to get through, especially when you're giving up 4.5 at home. So I think this is a sensible spot to take a money line dog. SMU's coming off a heartbreaker, and I think in those games, when you're in SMU, the only chance you have to make your season worth much is to go undefeated in a lot of cases.
Yeah.
So I think the loss ends up being a real heartbreaker for them.
Okay. And Seth Hennigan, that Memphis QB, coming back, correct? I know he didn't play against UCF, and they really struggled to move the ball, but
Yeah, I mean, I'm making this pick with the intention that he's back, so hopefully.
I think he's coming off the bye weeks. I know he's questionable to play, and
I mean, it's hard to sometimes get these injury reports for college, but
he'll be a game. From what I'm seeing on Twitter, it looks like he'll be a game time.
yeah, okay, so he's playing.
Yeah, right.
But I don't know.
Practice though, so
I love taking dogs in those money lines or those big shootout games because, again, I think you get value when things are like coming down to bounces and situations like that.
Yeah, along with the fact that I think money on SMU last weekend, and I wasn't that impressed with Tanner Mordecai, to be honest. I hadn't watched an SMU game live. I've seen a little bit of cut ups because I'm interested in him, but I mean, that defense, holy smokes. That secondary was just absolutely exposed. Couldn't really tackle in space. And so, yeah, you're going to get points. What's the over-under in that game? Just out of curiosity. Do you have it? I can get it.
No, I was going through ESPN, so I just have the game line.
70.
While you look.
That's going to be a shootout.
How many?
70.
That's almost lower. I almost like the over in that, but problem is I could see SMU giving up a lot of. I could see SMU getting grinded down a little bit in the run.
Yeah, you can have that game. I'm not. Again, I don't know. I just hate. I don't want to. SMU is another one of those teams that I feel like I'm just not like. I know you're about to give out Texas too, if I had to guess. Those are two teams I don't love betting on. Texas has led at half the last 3 games, and they haven't won a single one of them. I don't really know what's going on with them, but they just haven't gotten it together.
Yeah, and I mean, obviously, you got a little rumor circulating about a coach on Texas' staff being
it's not even a rumor.
Unscrupulous. So I mean, you wish that didn't, but he's kind of irrelevant, so I'm not overly worried. It's just
$1 million a year. How crazy is that?
Yeah, I mean, they pay Texas guys $1 zillion. I mean, probably half of it's going to players, so whatever. But
that's gonna be another one of those fun games to watch, though. So
that's the thing is, I'm thinking you getting this game at 7:30. Texas going into Ames, Iowa, I should say, against Iowa State. Texas giving up 6.5 points, and I think that the main issue I have is this SMU but Iowa State team can't get the ball in space. I mean, they don't have the athletes. It's not how they play. And ultimately, I think that's where Texas's biggest struggles come is tackling in space. So I think
you're gonna have trouble tackling Breece Hall. You're just gonna have to accept that.
Yeah, but I think you get one negative play, and again, I think where Texas really struggles is when teams spread them out and start making them tackle, whether that's through screens or runs to the outside and those type of plays. I think when I watched against Baylor in Oklahoma, were the 2 games I've kind of locked in on Texas, I think you've seen those issues display themselves where I think they'll be okay dealing with Iowa State's pass game, which is kind of trash anyway. I'm not a Brock Purdy guy. I think I've made that quite clear on here. And again, I just don't see them being able to spread out Texas and expose them. And I think Texas scores. Like, they can score on anyone. I think Iowa State's defense is okay, but I don't think it's great. And I think Texas is going to get their points. So I think I like Texas. I like them. Their backs against the wall for real. I think their season, you could argue, is kind of on the line here. And I think as I'm saying this, it almost makes me question why am I confident Texas is going to play to a standard of not themselves. But I don't know. I have the feeling. I think
those it's actually pretty good.
I think it's a decent matchup. And
all right.
I mean, I'm a sucker for a good dog. So
you are. I'll give you. We're gonna go to the SEC here. Probably my favorite pick of the week. Maybe outside of that Virginia Tech pick. I got Tennessee going on the road to beat Kentucky.
Love it.
Here we go the Rock Boys. You might as well just call us the Road Boys. We love taking the road team. We think Vegas, and it's been pretty successful. I mean, we're not like the best gamblers ever, but it really does seem like Vegas overvalues in some instances teams on the road, or I should say it overvalues home field advantage. Unless you're going into like a crazy environment, LSU at night, Penn State, Michigan, some of those big. I don't love like the idea that
I will say we kind of dump on Kentucky, or I think people in general have a perception that they're. I think those fans have gotten far more rabid lately. I think if you watch that game against Florida, they were a serious problem.
I mean,
I will say, I think the wind is out of the sails a little bit. Like Florida is Kentucky's primetime rivalry. They're coming off a loss that I think is a really bad loss for them.
That's what I'm gonna say. Is if you look at the body of work of Kentucky football, it's really not that good. I mean, they played Louisiana Monroe, and that's the only game that they really took care of business. They won in a shootout against Missouri. Missouri scored 28 on them. They won by 7. They should have lost to Chattanooga. They only beat South Carolina, who's probably the second worst team in the SEC, by 6. They beat a Florida team that was, for one, should have won that game 9 times out of 10. 2 isn't that good. They beat an LSU team that was like.
I don't recall Richardson playing very much, but if he played all game, they would have housed him, I think.
Richardson threw 1 ball and ran the ball 5 times, so he only had.
That's not enough. He should have the ball in his hand generally, but.
They beat an LSU team that's like super banged up and inconsistent. LSU can show up at certain points, but
LSU's not a good win. LSU's.
And then when they play some real teams, they play Georgia. They get beat, and everyone was like, "Oh my God, this Georgia team, like they challenged this Georgia team." I mean, if you watch the game, they scored 30.
They had one drive.
They had
good drive. They had one good drive
where they threw like the kitchen sink and threw like 4 reverses and pass. They did everything they could to score on that team. They did. And then the last drive of the game, they scored 7. But really outside of those 2 drives where their bulk of their offense came in, Chris Rodriguez only averaged 1 yard a carry, 7 carries for 7 yards. Kavase Smoke had 5 carries for only 14 yards. They didn't have no ball carry average over 3 yards a carry. They couldn't move the ball. Will Levis ended up throwing for 200 yards, but a lot of that was in garbage time. But they were getting boosted for it.
And then when you get to it, I'm with you. It's like there's just I think Kentucky is perceived way better than I'm with you because they caught Florida before you realize Florida was bad, kind of thing.
They also haven't played any other good teams, so it's just like to me, I'm only use that at.
Also, you're right. Will Levis, like he's a problem, and he is way too careless with the ball, which is a problem because Tennessee is probably going to score some points. That offense is really pretty good.
Mississippi State, he threw 3 interceptions. We took Kentucky. We thought they'd run the ball off them. Chris Rodriguez only had 8 carries. Kavase Smoke only had 8 carries. And they averaged less than 3 yards a carry there. No, a little over 3 yards. 3.3 yards a carry.
That's not good, though.
Which is not getting it done. And, I mean, Will Rogers put up like a career game. And so Tennessee's going on the road to a Kentucky team that's super one-dimensional, really only runs the ball that well. And they don't run the ball that well. They haven't against good teams. I'm not saying Tennessee's the best defense ever, but Tennessee's going to be able to put points up on Kentucky, and I don't think Kentucky's going to be able to put points up at that pace. And so I like that money. Yeah. Tennessee's been cooking. Like, they lost to Alabama.
Yeah, people are asleep on them because freaking Joe Milton.
Not should have, but
Joe Milton killed the team early, as he is kind of one to do.
Yep.
And ever since Hendon Hooker's come in and taken the reins, like they've really been. I mean, I was really impressed with them against Ole Miss. I think a couple really tough calls go against them, but they're in that game all game, and they fought. They played not like losing Tennessee football. I thought they were making plays, giving themselves a shot. I mean, ultimately,
Tennessee's buzzing. I like the pick. So
yeah.
So the picks that I really like Tennessee to win outright on the money line, and I like Virginia Tech to cover 3. I don't know. I don't love the other picks, but those are the ones I'm very comfortable with. Those are Rock Boys agreement, I guess you can call when we both like to pick. What are your other picks that you like?
I'm gonna give one more that I love, and I'm going back to the well here. Last week it served me quite well as Minnesota killed Northwestern. So I'm going to go back to it. I'm going to say Iowa covers 12 against Northwestern. And I know you think Iowa can't score, and you're right, they can't, but Northwestern can't score. They also can't defend the run. And if there's one thing Iowa has a semblance of being able to do, it's run the football. So when you look at this game, Iowa probably only has to score maybe like 24-ish points to cover that. I think
for Iowa.
It is a lot, but again, Northwestern's by far the worst team they've played. I think Northwestern,
you would think.
Or they just won't move the ball, so I will be playing on the 50 all game. And
that's it.
yeah, I don't know. I think like people sleep on how bad Northwestern is. Like that's such a bad team. Maybe you can get a decent kick return, punt return, something like that. I do like that return or Charlie something. I'm blanking.
Iowa, because their offense is so bad, they find those hidden yards in special teams. Like they get it done.
Well, their punter is freaking awesome, and then
they play solid football.
This is a lot of like if you give me less than 20 points for Northwestern, I'm just gonna start taking that. Like, no, not even look at who they're playing, because that team I think is so pathetically bad this year. I would lay up to probably 14 against anyone they play.
Yeah. Okay. I mean, I don't love it. Just I don't love laying 2 scores with Iowa, 2 touchdowns really with Iowa. I just don't know if their offense is explosive enough to cover.
Yeah, but you're acting like they're playing Indiana. They're playing Northwestern.
That's true. Northwestern's a bad football team. Very bad.
So bad.
I'm gonna go. I got 2 more that I really like. I'm gonna go with the one I like the most first. Michigan State to cover 3 against Purdue. Michigan State, they weren't. I mean, I don't even want to talk about that Michigan game, but like, they weren't that impressive. They made the plays that they needed to make to win the game. Kenneth Walker is the real deal. He's legit, and I really like his game. But Purdue is like, I mean, there's not that much to get excited about Purdue. They barely beat Illinois at home. Outside of beating Iowa, like there's not that much exciting about them. They get shelled by Wisconsin, gave up 30 to a really not very good Wisconsin team, and then almost lost to Nebraska. And I mean, Nebraska is a weird team. They like to show out some games and then just struggle. Adrian Martinez threw 4 picks that game. But, like, Purdue's not that good. And Michigan State, like, they play solid defense. They obviously have the best running game in the country with – that might be a boost. Solid defense might be a little bit of a boost. That secondary, actually, like, I know they got shredded, and Michigan was playing really well throwing the ball, but I like that.
I don't like that defense. I think their front seven's actually okay, but secondary is
3 points? Like, Michigan State's going to beat them at 3 points.
I know you disagree with this philosophy, but that when I looked at it, it didn't make any sense to me.
What way though? Tell the viewers what way.
I mean, I feel like Michigan State should be 14-point favorites.
And so then you hate taking it like that.
But I got my hand caught in I thought the same thing about Iowa last week against Wisco, and I thought the same thing about Kentucky against why am I blanking? Mississippi State, and I reached for them, and they both.
But like, I think we should admit that we were wrong. We were just straight up wrong about both those teams. Kentucky just that good of a
I guess you can go for it, but I can't condone
neither of those
teams back in. It's like
I'm reaching right in and taking Michigan.
It's a trap.
They'll cover by 14, and I'll
They're
just
booby trapping us. I know it.
Oh, it is worth monitoring Naylor though, because he's a legit one of their better receivers.
Yeah, that's true.
Against Michigan.
I don't think it's a deadly loss. Like they actually have decent wideouts. That Reed's very good. Big fan of his. I like Connor Hayward. He's kind of an interesting guy. But
He isn't it because I
he's
remember
very
he played
effective.
running back, and now he's just a tank. He's just a tank fullback, and I love it.
An effective player. It's kind of infuriating.
Yeah,
but
exactly. Jaden Reed is really Jalen Nail and Jaden Reed are really good wide receivers. They don't get enough credit.
Yeah, it's fair. It's fair.
Peyton Thorne just needs to be better.
He makes big throws though.
Yeah, he does.
Like,
he needs to use his
when
life.
the game's on the line, he can kind of put it on the table and make his plays.
And the culture that Michigan State and Mel Tucker had is strong. Like they really didn't go away. They just kept playing hard. They went for two, made all the plays they needed to.
Mel Tucker's a shining star, which saddens me.
It's a well-coached team going on the road, and you're getting good value. I like to pick.
All right. Again, you know why I'm like, I feel like I think Michigan State's walking into a bit of a trap, and I think you might be walking into a trap, so I can't condone. But I mean, yeah, it doesn't make any sense to me, so I'm just gonna pretend it doesn't exist. That's my philosophy on it.
You like anything else? I'll give you my last pick. I think we both like this pick because we talked about it earlier.
Nah, I would be reaching if I gave anything else.
I think my last pick that I like is NC State to cover against Florida State.
Yes.
Yeah, I think I knew you liked it.
People keep valuing tight games against Clemson. It's like, why are we just gonna accept that Clemson's very much? What did Dabo say? They're like a grain of hair away from being good. It's like, no, you're not. You're dangerously close to have lost like 1-0 games.
When Dabo said that, I was like, I mean,
it's crazy.
You just don't
know so bad
with Florida State, and that's one of the reasons why I don't love the pick. But I think there's good value. Florida State plays Notre Dame tough at home. Then they lose to Jacksonville State. Then they get smoked by Wake Forest. Good team, though. They lose to Louisville, beat Syracuse close. They end up beating UNC by 10, which is just a weird game. They're in it up until the last play against Florida State, and then they smoke UMass. So it's super up and down, inconsistent. Florida State is at home, 3-5. NC State's coming in 6-2. With a chance to go to the ACC championship game if they can keep winning. Lost a heartbreaker to Miami by 1 point. And then
Miami's playing good ball, though. That's not a bad loss. Miami's turning it up a little.
At first, I was like, oh, my God, NC State got beat by Mississippi State pretty handily. But
they're good.
In Starkville, NC State moved the ball a lot and couldn't capitalize early. Devin Leary threw for 300 yards. If you told that they had more yards than NC State did that game, ended up losing by 14. And it was just super, I don't know if I want to use the word unlucky, but a couple of plays, 4th and goal and turnovers, that kind of caused them to just get out of the game. But ever since then, they've rebounded and lost a close one to Miami. Like this NC State team, I liked them early, and I still like them. Devin Leary is really solid. They got a really good two-headed monster in the backfield, and they got some big receivers who can make big time plays, and obviously a solid defense. So,
not for nothing. Again, I mean, thinking about what Florida State struggled with against Notre Dame was size, giving up deep.
Yeah, true. That's a good point.
I mean, they really struggled to deal with Meyer, and they gave up a fair amount of contact. Seems to me like number 4 for Notre Dame had a pretty good game as well. So
the only thing I hate is Florida State is very similar to Texas, where it's like they have all the talent in the world. It's just like what Florida State team is going to show up that Saturday. It could be a Florida State team that hangs around and wins.
I will say though, Florida State has not recruited at a particularly high level probably in 5 years. So.
Weird, a lot of.
I think they're running out of their Jimbo Fisher talent.
That's probably fair.
where they were legit good everywhere. I think there's they have some talent, but they have Power 5 talent. They don't have LSU, Alabama, Ohio State, Texas, Oklahoma talent. At least not in my opinion. like still. I don't love. I just think their offense is like out of it just looks weird. It looks stressed constantly, like in a position of defense.
In defense of Jordan Travis making a stupid.
Yeah,
I like Jordan
and
Travis personally. He does not seem. He has no pocket presence for one. I mean,
but he's also
he
playing
just
in
drop
a
and just
Sid.
but he is a very good athlete. They got. I really like their running backs too, in Jashawn Corbin, Trishawn Ward.
Yeah, that guy's good.
If you follow Florida State, you know this kid. He's absolutely electric in space. Had that 68-yard touchdown catch where he's just nuts how he stayed in bounds.
They're really impressed against Florida State or Notre Dame.
But better coaching, NC State, better quarterback play, more consistent quarterback play, better defense, NC State. They pretty much check all the boxes. I'm going NC State.
You can't trust. You really like because that's basically saying it's a pick 'em, and you can't trust Florida State to win game in and game out.
And you're getting good value with NC State going on the road.
And NC State is like the opposite. They play their game. They do it every week. They're not wildly talented, and they're probably not going to upset a ton of teams, but they'll do their thing generally, I think. Yep. So yeah, I love that pick too. Yep.
So that'll close it out for me. I want to say a few things before we close out the show, so let me know if you're done too, and we'll finish up.
Picks wise, I'm done.
Okay, so there's our picks. I know a lot of you guys that we've been engaging with you on Twitter about the college football playoff rankings. We're gonna try to get an episode in, kind of talking about that, talking about what the narrative is with the college football playoffs. A lot of people are upset about it. I'm not that upset about it personally. But we will do a show on it and kind of talk about that. The rest of the slate, there's a few other good games that we didn't really get in our picks. Auburn, Texas A&M is going to be a fun one.
Excited.
Bo Nix is kind of cooking. Like at Auburn, he's back to like freshman year Bo Nix, where he's kind of magical, little Johnny Manziel in him. And then obviously you got that Oregon-Washington game, the rivalry, a budding rivalry, I guess you'd say. Jimmy Lake said that. They don't compete with Oregon in recruiting because they're academically better. We compete with Stanford and Notre Dame. That is what he said.
That is asinine, but whatever.
Jimmy Lake, why don't you just worry about scoring at least 10 points a game? Anyway,
Jimmy Lake might get fired. I think, because he inherited a wagon of a Pac-12 team with Peterson, and he really is not done a great job.
7-point favorites on the road. It's going to be a lot. Like Washington's one of the best environments.
It is a good environment.
When those fans show up, and I think they're going to be energized. I think they're going to be juiced. NIU just scored to make it a 5-point game, by the way.
Go.
And it'll be a fun game to watch. I just don't like. I've pretty much sworn off the Pac-12, so we're not. I don't really include Pac-12 picks.
I will say I do like the cover. I mean, Washington's so bad. Oregon's not great, but
Washington's bad, you're right.
Washington's. You gotta hold your nose when they play.
I feel like if you were to put like take Oregon, just you throw 7 and just hold your nose and hope for the best. Like Anthony Brown is.
No, I don't like Oregon, but you're being a little disrespectful to Oregon. Like you are like they got screwed by the refs against Stanford. That was an all-time host.
That was all-time bad.
Everyone knows that.
Yeah, that was tough.
And otherwise, that is the only really bad game they've played. I mean, CJ Verdell's injury hurt them bad. I mean, Travis Dye is good. I like Travis Dye, but I think
he's not like he.
You want the two of them,
and he lacks kind of the harder running. He's good in space.
Verdell also he makes bigger plays a lot. So I think it was a big loss for them. Kayvon's back though. I don't know. You got me thinking. And I'm gonna talk myself into this pick.
We're gonna start. I didn't tell you this, so I guess we're just doing a little pre-show on air. We're gonna start making a spreadsheet to track picks, and then we're gonna go over the picks.
It's probably smart.
It'll be smart. It'll be fun to do. Track kind of how are you doing, because I think it'd be a good thing to see where we're winning money, like what teams we're winning money on, what teams we're losing. Clemson's like lost us like 4 units on the year.
No, don't talk about Clemson because I'll talk myself. I
We
know
had
I
some
will.
serious cash cows too. Like we won a lot of money on UCLA.
UCLA's made a bit.
Won a lot of money on Wake Forest, whether you like it or not. We have
When?
Virginia. We took them plus 170 against Virginia.
Well, yeah, then we lost all against freaking Stanford or Syracuse. So
That's true. They didn't cut. That was a bullshit too because
it was.
that was a bad one. That was actually really bad. Talk about it.
Get you rolling on that bad beat. That was tough, and you couldn't watch it live because you were at the
To be
game.
fair, we got super lucky with the OU bet previously. But anyways, all right, that's enough of that. Appreciate you guys watching. We look forward to engaging with you guys more on Twitter. We've been getting some good action from you guys, so we appreciate that. Let us know in the comments your favorite picks as usual, and we'll be signing out. Time to go make some money on Saturday. Peace.